In 2024, a man named Mayor Shlomo started a company, alone. 6 months later, he sold it to Wix for $80 million in cash. His entire team was 8 people. The company was profitable, and most of the work was done by software that never slept. This isn't a story about one lucky founder. It's a warning. Your next competitor isn't a company with 500 employees. It's one person and 12 AI agents. For 100 years, business ran on one simple law. To do more, you hired more. Headcount was the moat. Want a support team? Hire 50 people. A sales floor? Hire 100. The biggest army usually won. That law just broke. Sam Altman says there's a betting pool among tech CEOs for the first one-person billion-dollar company. Dario Amodei, who runs Anthropic, put odds on it, 70 to 80%, that the first one-person unicorn appears by the end of 2026. That sounds like hype. So let's check the math. Here's why this matters, whichever seat you're in. If you run a company, the cost advantage you spent a decade building might now be a liability. A 22-year-old undercuts from a laptop. If you're building one, the leverage you have today needed a war chest and 100 hires 5 years ago. And if you invest, the entire link between headcount, cost, and value is being rewritten. So what are the 12 agents? None of this is science fiction. Every one is a real product, a real business pays for right now. Customer support, Intercom's Fin resolves 67% of tickets across 7,000 companies. Software engineering, Cursor crossed $500 million in revenue with a few dozen people. Legal, Harvey does $300 million a year, used by half of America's 100 biggest law firms. Sales, recruiting, bookkeeping, marketing, research, design. Each one now has an agent that does the grunt work of an entire junior team. 12 functions. 12 roles that used to be 12 hires. Now they're 12 tabs open on one person's screen. And the proof is in the numbers. AI-native startups generate around $3.5 million of revenue per employee. Roughly 6 times a traditional software company. Look at who's actually doing it. Midjourney passed $200 million in revenue, with about 40 people and 0 outside investors. Cal AI, a calorie tracker built by teenagers, did tens of millions and got bought by MyFitnessPal. And Base 44, one founder, 6 months, $80 million. This isn't even new. Instagram sold for $1 billion with 13 employees. WhatsApp for $19 billion with 55. AI just strapped that patent to a rocket and handed the controls to almost anyone. Now, here's where every other video lies to you, and we won't. The agents are not magic. When Klarna replaced the work of 700 support agents with AI, it saved $40 million, and then quietly rehired humans, because the quality dropped. When researchers gave AI agents real office jobs, the best one finished about 24% of them. One failed because it couldn't close a pop-up window. And the most uncomfortable study, experienced engineers using AI on code they knew well were 19% slower, while believing they were 20% faster. Builders have a name for it, the 70% problem. AI gets you 70% of the way, fast. The last 30, the edge cases, the judgment, the accountability, is as hard as it ever was. And it still belongs to a human. So the honest signal is sharper then. AI replaces everyone. The multiplier isn't even. AI is a massive accelerant for someone doing new work in software-shaped businesses who's hungry and fast and nearly useless, sometimes negative, for an expert maintaining a complex legacy system. The founder lives in the high-gain zone. The incumbent lives in the low-gain one. AI doesn't just make small teams efficient. It tilts the board toward the attacker. So, concretely, if you're an operator, stop measuring your company by headcount and start measuring output per person. Take the 3 functions eating the most salary for the least judgment and put an agent on them this quarter. Not to fire people, but to free them for the 30% only humans can do. If you're an investor, revenue per employee is now a leading indicator, not a footnote. A company doing 6 times the revenue per head isn't just lean, it's structurally harder to compete with. For a century, the answer to "how do I do more" was hire more. That era is ending. The next great company might not have 1,000 employees. It might have 1, and an army of agents that never clock out. Which raises the question nobody's ready for. If one person can now run a company of 12, what happens to the millions of jobs those 12 agents replace? That's not a tech story. That's the next decade. And it's the next teardown.